we're running just behind schedule, but we had added a bit of buffer in the last 30 minutes where you were going to be hearing from me, and now you'll hear from me a bit less. And Matt will be joining in as well, and he'll be talking you through the product. But next, we're going to have a panel between, you won't be hearing much from me here. It will just be the community itself. We'll have Jamile, Rui, Samuel, and Thibaud, who are going to be talking about how they've been using the platform, their range of experiences. They're going to be talking about what we're probably most well known for, which is deliverable planning, tracking, and reviewing. And that reviewing has been added intentionally because that's what Jamile opened our minds to. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks for having this discussion. And I look forward to seeing how the conversation that you all have between each other.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you for the invite. I think it's very exciting to be here. I think Morta is doing a great job in kind of bringing the industry together, an industry that tends to be quite siloed. And, you know, here we are from different organizations, different sectors, chatting and, you know, knowledge sharing. So I think this is really, really nice. Okay, let's kick this off then. So I guess the first question will give us a bit of an opportunity for an intro. So what problems have you been solving with Morta? You know, what was the pain that you were trying to fix, and what did you explore any solutions before? And I think this will give you an opportunity to talk about, you know, where you're coming from as well. So Thibaud, shall we kick off with you? You are muted.
Of course, I was. That's better.
Standard.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the main reason why we started looking into Morta ourselves was the IDP process, trying to move away from spreadsheets. But I guess one of the key things was making it more of a self-service process than something that's driven by doc controllers or by specific people that have the key to the whole process. One thing, because we work on major infrastructure projects, the volume of data is huge. We have lots of deliverables in the realm of thousands and thousands and tens of thousands. So we need system, or we need a system to be able to centralize that information in one place. So we were looking for a solution to that problem. And I guess where Morta kind of slotted in quite nicely was, well, I think it was mentioned before, this low-code, no-code approach that we saw potential in, because we could build our own solution with our IT department, but have it like middle ground of people can still do things with it. And I guess that's the main thing for us, is that notion of, yes, we can build solution for users, for people, but then we've seen in the past that giving them the solution rarely works. And having them involved in building their own solution usually is what makes it work. So I guess that, yeah, I guess I've answered your question.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting. If people need to feel part of the solution, right? You can't just come with a final product and then just present it. Completely agree. Rui, Sam, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if I could just add to that, quite similar thinking to Thibaud as well from my point of view. At McDonald, we had Excel, obviously, on one end of the spectrum, which we know can be a bit of a mess. But on the other end of the spectrum, we did develop a specific solution for big projects before. But when it came to, like, you know, we've spent so much time developing it, thinking we can just use that solution for the next project. It's actually very hard to do that because we've developed it almost very bespoke to that specific project. It's hard to make it work make it scalable for any other project. So Morta again was a good sort of middle ground between both ends of the spectrum, which we found very useful on our project so far.
Yeah, and I would say that definitely what we're talking about here is a a large data set and a complex in the way that it is managed. You've got so many different people to input and a lot, even more people utilizing it. So definitely what you need is a solution that, as we heard in the previous panel, Imozoid, something that is integrated, an intelligent solution. Excel, with all its strengths and power, when you need to collaborate with so many different people, it's not the adequate tool.
Thank you, Rui. Yeah, I think for us, May, so we have a few fronts of implementation of Morta. For the one my particular sector, we had to deal with the problem of having to engage with different city solutions and trying to find a kind of single interface for it, and Morta kind of became very quickly the obvious solution. So it was, yes, definitely we had a very clear problem that we wanted to target. So I would say that we are on the reviews part of the title in our panel. And in terms of progress and where you are with your implementation, Sam, where how much progress have you made, and how is it looking for Morta at the moment?
Well, as a bit of a context, I've been working on a few projects to deploy Morta to their projects. So different projects have approached Morta differently. Quite commonly, they've been quite reluctant to try new things, as you can imagine. They're just very used to their set ways of working. One example is where they've used Excel to manage their MIDP. We tried to ask them to use Morta, and they were very reluctant to do it. Ultimately, what happened was, of course, Excel broke down. Too many people were editing too many stuff at the same time, and that was, I guess, the turning point for that project. They were like, okay, we'll try out this new thing that you've been persuading us to use for many months now. We're going to use Morta, and I think the journey so far has been quite good. They've been adjusting it well. They're using Morta in a very good way, and I think a big part of it is due to similarities to Excel, and people are now trying new approaches. Like we promoted Morta as an MIDP management tool, but they've now seen the potential of it to use it for other non-MIDP related tasks. So I think that's a good sign of how people were initially reluctant of this new software, and now they've seen the potential of how this could supplement, improve their ways of working.
I thought it was quite interesting in the previous panel. Can't remember if it was Ben or Andy. They were saying that sometimes you start with trying to fix one problem. Okay, we have one Excel that we are trying to make better, and then suddenly it becomes more of a systemic approach. It kind of grows within the organization. But yeah, Rui, Thibaud?
Yeah, I think before today, I would have thought that we've come very far, but after seeing so many brilliant things being presented, there's just more and more ideas coming to play, and I think that's a common factor with Morta users. Everything that you solve seems to open more doors and give you more ideas, and even throughout the process, while speaking to different people in different departments in the company, every single one of them, when they saw how Morta was working to solve the problem I was trying to solve, they all came up with new ideas, with questions. So can we also do A, B, or C? It's, it just naturally comes up. So yeah, quite the the strength of a solution like this, of low code and customization, is really what lets you get to a solution that is based on your purposes purely from the start.
I guess for us, we're starting using Morta. So we're kind of, I think that was the interesting bit when we started talking to each other, saying like we're all at different stages. Some of you have been using it for a year, 2 years, more than that. And we're kind of just starting, and it's just at that stage of rolling it out, making sure people understand what they have to do, making sure we're good enough to make sure they know what they have to do as well. And we can definitely see potential in our space, and it's I think we've tried to approach Morta with I think it was Mo that told me when we were discussing potentially getting like working with Morta, it was kind of the start small and expand situation, which we wanted to start very big. That was kind of our goal with Morta, which is still there. But I think the definite aspect of trying to do one thing well is definitely what we're trying to focus at the moment. Just do one thing well, do it correctly, and as Sam said, and Rui as well, maybe by doing something well, then the other aspects will come along more easily.
Definitely, I think there's also an aspect of upskilling the team who is going to be championing the Morta within the organization, right? So that is, I would say we are also starting. So we've been using, again, for this particular application, we started maybe not even a year ago, and there is, even though we have an established template, has been rolled out, it's being used in projects. There's so much more that we want to do that absolutely, I consider we are still just starting. So we touched on this already a little bit, but what have you observed that people are seeing? So what's the perception of your colleagues and wider stakeholders to your implementation? Rui, do you want to kick off that one?
Yeah, I think from the perspective of information delivery planning, we're focusing on that. I think the benefit for most people was pretty clear. We had something that simply wasn't working. So just having a solution that we can, plan and track what we've planned, then, is always going to be accepted. I think all in all, and, as we've seen throughout this morning with all of the different use cases and demos that we've seen around information delivery planning, I think that the key benefit to me and what brings most people into it, or would drive them to move into something like Morta, is that it allows open and clear communication. So instead of having little tables scattered around being shared, and you do this and I do that, and then someone else tries to combine all of that stuff, you have a hub in the true sense of the word, where people getting there, they've got their own, access controls in place, and people see what they need to see. The views can be generated in a way that is purposeful for each of the different stakeholders using it. You can then start to look into it as a place where you go to gather information, to input into it, and you do it all in one place, and everything is interconnected and it works smoothly. So that allows you to utilize the platform to keep track of what you are doing as well. So I think it just opens up. And I think when it comes into like your solution, Jamile, where you're trying to integrate deliverables from several different CDEs and trying to manage that, and the knowledge that each of your team would have in each of the different CDEs, what you can achieve there is that open communication as well. So you've got one place where everyone can discuss what's going on, put their comments, see what others did before, carry on from there and manage it. So I think greatest benefit that would pull more people into it is that open communication. In terms of challenges, from a perspective of a new builder, I think there's a bit of a switch in the mindset that we have to go through. At least I did go through that stuff. You have to stop thinking about information in cells and start thinking about how things interconnect and how they how you can use them to reach your goals. So in reality, there's that learning curve that you have to go through, but that is from a new builder's perspective. I think in terms of wide-ranging challenges, I mean, lots of things, and as we listened several times being put out this morning, is that this information is the basis for many different tasks and many different activities that go across many different departments. If you can nail that information, manage it in a way that is clear for everyone, then you would be putting down a great barrier away. But I think it's more of it's always going to be a win-win when that information is managed in a way that everyone can see. So I think if you can demonstrate that, then probably the challenges would start to disappear naturally.
Sam, Thibaud?
I guess the main challenges we're facing at the moment is to kind of know our boundaries, understand what the system is good for, what the system isn't. And I think you can go very meta with Morta, no pun intended. You can really use Morta to manage Morta, and it can get to some levels of sometimes you have to take a step back and maybe think about what you're really trying to achieve. Because I think the flexibility of the tool is its power. But then the flexibility of the tool is also his drawbacks, because Morta is not made to do MIDPs, right? You can do lots of different things with Morta. And I think as a specific challenge that we face in that development, let's say rollout phase, is just trying to make sure we don't go down the tangents thinking, oh, actually we could be doing this, doing that, because that process that we've discussed with users, I think as builders, we have it a lot as well. And it's just trying to turning it back into something that will be simple and something that will be usable. I think that's been one of our challenge, because we want to make the most of the platform, the connectivity between different data sets, the connectivity between different systems. That's definitely what we're trying to achieve. But then maybe going too far too quick is probably a challenge. So we're really trying to make sure we do it progressively. And one thing we've done that has worked quite well was really just releasing some kind of an MVP and the most viable product, just saying, okay, that does that. Doesn't do everything yet, but it does something. And really trying to look back with the users. Okay, what's your feedback? What is good? What is bad? What should we improve? So that's the approach we're trying to push at the moment. But we're starting to see some benefits. It's hard sometimes to have the right people to engage, but we're really keen on having that you make the product with us, rather than, we give you the answer and then we train you and see you in 2 weeks to have another training, for example. So I think, as I guess, challenge and drawbacks, that's been our experience so far.
Yeah, I'll just echo that I think the key thing is just the balance between allowing people to do their thing on Morta, but also making sure that they kind of develop things within a certain boundary. That's something that we're still working on ourselves, and probably something we'll keep working on for a long time. But
I think there's an interesting point there about that avoiding change fatigue. Not kind of constantly letting people kind of establish themselves and settle in what is the solution, and then introducing new improvements kind of slowly, so it doesn't feel like it changes all the time and it's not stable. So I think that's super important as well. Okay, so what are you seeing that your solution can start playing roles outside of your core kind of information management activities in design or commercial?
Yeah, I think that's our target. We'll see if we can achieve it. But really what we saw in Morta was that notion as well of reusing piece of information, because on big projects, we always end up calling things slightly differently. And that happens across the board in production teams. In every single team will refer to the same thing slightly differently. And we've seen from our past experience that is fine for most people, but when you start throwing a bit of IT and a bit of systems in the middle, somehow they can talk to each other better when they speak the same language. So really that's one of the things we're trying to run with the MIDP first, but then I guess the second, let's say, function that we're really looking into, which is very linked to the MIDIP, but then it's really that program aspect. And I think one thing that we're seeing, and that was a good feedback from our planning manager actually. Problem with our programs is they tend to be stuck in PDFs. They have lots of information, lots of logic, lots of dates of if I just want to search for a specific task and whatever date it is. There are tools out there, but in most of the case, you'll have a PDF. And then if you're smart, you'll do Control F in your PDF. Otherwise, you're just going to be scrolling down the construction program to find what's going on, right? So I think for us, Morta can also be an opportunity to unlock the program and make it accessible to everyone, really, to have that, I wonder when that activity starts. You can just do a search and say, okay, that's when this activity starts. So that's one of the things we're really looking into. And of course, thinking long-term, the idea will be to link that back to procurement, link that back to the actual construction activities, because we're still in the design phase at the moment, but getting those packages and those breakdowns in place so that we can kind of review what's going on, identify problems of, we're starting on site next week, procurement should have happened 6 months ago, it hasn't, and whatever the situation is, it's really that bad. But then, yeah, that's trying to make sure we start connecting the dots together. I think that's what we're trying to do, and we'll see if maybe next year we can tell you if we've done it or not.
Rui, Sam, any thoughts on that?
I guess from my perspective, we're still kind of focusing on the MIDP approach right now, but we definitely see a lot of potential. Anything that used to use Excel can be done on Morta. That's my perspective. So I guess the possibilities are endless, to be honest. But yeah, at the moment we haven't quite gone down exploring a lot of the other options so far. But having heard of the earlier sessions, definitely got lots of ideas right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything that uses information to carry out whatever tasks are definitely an area that can expand and be probably better done in Morta. There's one thing that has always been in the back of my mind, which is answering questions. And I think, we've talked about some of those points already, and we've heard this morning as well a few bits and bobs about it. But there are specific roles, more senior roles, that need plain simple, truthful responses. Now, as soon as you have information delivery planning in place, you can then audit, you can then track progress, so on and so forth. Now, if you have that data managed in a structured way, then you can answer those questions really, really easily. So I think one of the teams, if you like, that would very quickly, very greatly benefit straight away would be the senior leadership teams, at least for us tier 1 contractors. So there are very, very important questions that they ask every week, and they need a truthful, straight, simple answer.
I think it's interesting that Morta is kind of becoming a synonym for innovation, information management, maturity. Because this is at the end of the day, what we're trying to do, isn't it? Is to kind of create more maturity around how we manage information, and Morta is a great drive for that. And I guess just to kind of wrap this up, we spoke a little bit about future aspirations, but is there anything in particular that you are aiming to do with Morta? I think from our side, I'm very intrigued, or I know that there is a lot of potential with using Morta with Power Automate for documentation that is stored in SharePoint. So we are doing a bit of investigation in that area, and I know we're going to create a lot of efficiency for our team once we get there. But is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I think there's one particular aspect that I think for us will come into play in the near future, and that's performance measuring. So obviously, when we talk about capability, and we've seen a little bit about that this morning, it's all great that we have these forms and we ask these questions, so on and so forth. But I think the capability of different teams to manage the information that they produce is a substantial aspect of the capability, the overall information management capability. So having this data across several projects, several regions, the whole country, whatever it may be, how much you want to expand it, would definitely be able to give you a performance indicator of each team that you appoint to provide you with information. So having that real time but over time performance indicator of how well people manage the information, submissions on time, errors in the submission or the lack of errors in the information, how quickly they respond to those things. So all of this data can be extracted and measured against time. So that is, in terms of future aspirations, is having that ability to have a clear performance indicator of across our supply chain in terms of managing information.
Sounds good. Thibaud, you go for it. Sorry.
No, I think it was mentioned during the previous panel. I think it's going to be now about identifying the right use cases, of trying to potentially find the things that fall through the cracks. For very specific things, we typically have software solutions that exist on the market that do their job very well. And sometimes, yes, an Excel spreadsheet can also do the job, but it's trying to find those middle grounds of, okay, the Excel is not going to work. We don't really have the budget or maybe the need for a super nice solution. Maybe Morta, I think, can fill some of those gaps in the middle of, at least we have it somewhere that it's shared or somewhere that it's structured. And then usually that's pretty much all you need, really, just something that will, let's say, keep on living when the person that has created the tracker leaves the project. This type of very small things, I think, would make a big difference, definitely.
Yeah, I guess for myself, I guess more internally focused, is just making sure that we have really strong, robust templates for MIDPs for now, but in the future, any kind of Excel trackers that we use, just having those good, robust templates that we can use throughout McDonald potentially. It's good to see that from earlier sessions that people from like Kia have done this already. So that's where we're at the moment, trying to hopefully get people to use more of Morta for those kind of like centralized Excel trackers that everyone uses, so that people have we've done like set up audit trail functionalities within Morta, so that really makes it much better than just average Excel file that people can go in and change things unnecessarily. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone. I think we need to draw this to a close because we're going over time a little bit. So kindly request a mo comes back.
Amazing.
There we go.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thanks a lot, Jamile, for moderating this panel. Thanks, Rui, Thibaud, Samuel. Thanks for sharing. Again, you come from different backgrounds. You come from different companies. You come from different sectors. You come from different points of where you're implementing Morta. And the whole point of having you together is we want you to get inspired from each other, get tips from each other, because every single one of you, I think, is doing some really, really interesting things. So thanks for trusting us, and thanks for joining today, and really looking forward to doing more and more together next year.
Thanks for
Thanks for
having
the
us.
event. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you all. Thanks, Mo.